Livers, welcome to the class, welcome to your Friday morning Pilates class. So we will get ourselves moving and let's start by coming to our feet. I don't know why I feel the need to shout at you every time we start a class. Let's allow ourselves then to bring our feet underneath our hips. So as always with these classes, I'm not using any music because I think it sort of distorts what's going on and I feel as though I'm shouting anyway. But also I kind of feel as though you could, if you wanted to at home, put your own music on and then you've got something you really enjoy yourself. So we'll start, so if you want to take a moment to just allow yourself to find some nice music, now's the chance to. So let's get ourselves moving. Hopefully you can see the whole of me. That's it, lovely. So we'll bring those feet underneath our hips. Let's allow the toes to point forwards and we'll start off by finding a nice central focus, a nice central balance. So the feet are right underneath our hips. If you want to close the eyes, by all means close the eyes. And just allow your breath to come and go nice and gently. So we'll allow that breath to come gently in through the rib cage. And soften and release as the rib cage deflates. And we'll see if we can allow that breath to come nice and low. So we'll breathe wide into the ribs, wide into the lungs. And then feeling as though we can really soften into the rib cage. That's it, lovely. Wide and full into the ribs. Good. And just take a moment to direct that breath a little bit lower for me. So you're going to try and focus your breath all the way down into the pelvis. Breathe in really wide and full. Seeing if we can, as we breathe really deeply, drop right into the pelvis, allow the hips to relax, allow the pelvic floor to soften. And then we'll bring our awareness down into the feet. A nice sturdy base. We'll allow our weight to gently track over the front of the feet. And then gently track into the back of the feet. Taking it through those two extremes, tipping gently forwards and gently back. Finding that place where it feels as though your weight is right in the centre of the 2 feet. So you're not too far on the back of the heels, not too far over the front of the toes, but central with your balance. And when we find that place, just allow the arches of the feet to gently connect, gently lift. Drawing those arches up, finding that sense of connection. And then we'll allow there to be that softness into the knees. And we'll bring our awareness into the pelvis, allowing ourselves to tip gently forwards and gently back. Tipping gently forwards and gently back. And we'll take it through those two extremes. And then we'll allow the tailbone to gently descend down towards the space between the heels, and we'll allow ourselves to lengthen really tall up through the spine. And when we do, let's allow ourselves to lift the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down. And again, shoulders lift, rolling back and down. Good, keep that going for me. Rolling gently through the shoulders. Good. And allowing those shoulders to ease a little towards one another and sink down towards the tailbone. And as the shoulders glide down towards the tailbone, let's allow the shoulders to really glide all the way down. And we'll feel as though from tailbone to pubic bone, we're drawing in and up. So we're just connecting in through those pelvic floor muscles. And with that connection in place, we'll still allow ourselves to breathe. Some of us will find that the abdomen draws in at the same time, and that's a marvellous thing. Some of us will find that it's more focused on the pelvic floor, and that's good too. So we've got those shoulders gliding down the back. We're allowing the breath to expand wide into the lungs. Let's allow that breath to continue into the arms. Breathing in, exhaling and softening down. Morning, Libby. And breathing in, we open. And softening down. Good. Taking 2 more like that. Lovely. Last one, allow the arms to release down by our sides. Take a deep breath, right fingertips glide down the side of the leg. Coming through the centre, up and over to the opposite side. And again, coming through the centre, up and over to the first side. Lovely. And then if you feel ready to, we'll allow the top arm to lift up and over. And coming through the centre, up and over to the opposite side. Lovely. When you just found a little bit of ceiling there. That's better. And as we come into the centre, let's allow the hands to come on top of the elbows. Let's allow the shoulders to glide down the back. So as we ease the shoulders down the back, we keep the pelvis nice and still, and we'll just let the rib cage gently rotate round to the right side. Breathing in as we return back to the centre, and rotating round to the opposite side. Breath in as we return back to the centre. Good. Keep that going for me. Lovely. Morning, Vicky. Morning, Sam. Morning, Jay. Nice to see ya. Yay. So as we continue with that, let's allow the arms to open out to the side. Now, elbows bend, fingers point upwards. If your shoulders say no, by all means, go back to the position we were just working from. Good. Last one on each side. And finishing off there, coming back to the centre. Let's cut the space with our hands as if we've got a tray on each hand. Shoulders gliding down the back. Arms gently open out to the side. Breathing in as we draw back in. And opening out. Drawing the fingertips back in. Good. So feeling as though the shoulder blades are gliding together with each arm opening. Lovely. Now, this time we're going to allow the right arm to go high and the left arm to go low. So we're going to cut the space with our thumbs. Good. And drawing back in. Change over to the other side. Opening out. Yeah, lovely. Good. Again on each side. And last one. And then bringing the arms back down by your sides and give the arms a little shake out. Let's take a little work into the legs. So we'll just take a little plie, a little bend through the knees, and then we'll allow the legs to lengthen. Good. As we do that, we can allow the arms to open out to the side. Good. Keep that going for me. Now we're aiming to keep the pelvis dropping down as if we were sliding down a wall. And then we're going to alternate this with our squats action. So hinging in the hips and the knees this time, we sink back as if we're trying to sit down on a chair. We lift on up, and then long spine, tailbone descends, we lower. So we're alternating between the two. We sink down low, and we lift. Long spine, arms open up to the side. Once more in each direction. And releasing for me there. Lovely. Taking a deep breath, we're going to allow ourselves to take a roll down through the spine. So, as we breathe out, we'll release through the top of the head. We'll gently roll down through the spine, coming down through the vertebrae bit by bit. Allowing a little bit of softness through the knees And breathing out as we roll back up through the spine. Lifting the shoulders, roll the shoulders gently back and down and both arms float forwards and up. Breathing in as we float the arms back down. And again, releasing through the top of the head, rolling gently down through the spine. Nice deep breath at the bottom, breathing out as we roll up through the spine. Lifting the shoulders, roll them back and down. Let's allow both arms to reach up. This time the right fingertips are going to reach a little bit higher. And then the left fingertips reach even higher. And coming into the centre, open the arms out. We'll take that roll down once again. Release through the top of the head, rolling gently down through the spine. Taking a nice deep breath at the bottom. And then rolling up through the spine. Lifting the shoulders when you get there, roll them back and down. Both arms float forwards and up. A little bit more of a reach on the right side. And then a little bit more of a reach on the left side. And coming into the centre, open the arms, take that little bend. Good, lengthening the legs, take that little squat, sinking back down. Oh, I've actually sat down on my sofa and standing up, that wasn't intentional. Let's release the top of the head, rolling down through the spine. I'd better do it this way. Otherwise, if I sit down, I might not get back up again. Rolling up through the spine. We lift the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down, both arms float forwards and up. Reaching with the right arm and reaching with the left arm. And coming into the centre, opening out through the arms, take that little bend of the knees. Lengthening the legs, sinking back into that squat action. And let's just add on a rise here, so I want the eyes to be open as we allow the heels to lift away from the floor, push down into the big toe. Floating the heels down and bring the weight into the centre of the foot. We release through the top of the head, rolling down through the spine. Keep that moving for me. Nice deep breath there. Breathing out as we roll up through the spine. Lifting the shoulders, roll them back and down. Both arms float forwards and up. Reaching the right arm up. Left arm up. Both arms reach. We allow the arms to come wide. Take that little bend through the knees. Lengthening the legs and then change the emphasis with the squat, hinging at the hips. Good. From there, taking that rise, push into the big toe. Heels gently lift. Lovely. Float the heels down. The right foot's going to lift away from the floor. And then we float that foot back down and we change over to the other side. Opposite floats away. Yeah, nice. Good. Hold it for me there. Release through the top of the head, taking that roll down through the spine. Nice deep breath at the bottom. Breathing out as we roll up through the spine. We lift the shoulders, we roll the shoulders back and down, both arms float forwards and up. We reach through the right arm, reach even further through the left arm. Bringing the arms open and taking that little bend of the knees and allow the legs to lengthen. Then we take that squat, so notice the change. This time we're hinging into the hips. Taking the rise, finding your balance work, pushing into the big toe, heels lift away from the floor. Good. Allowing the heels to float down. One leg lifts. Allow the arms to float forwards if you want to. Then the knee can open out to the side. Whoop, she says. Bringing the leg back into the centre. And floating gently down, changing over sides. Good. Fight for it. Nice. And releasing there, rolling gently down through the spine, coming down through the vertebrae bit by bit. Nice deep breath at the bottom and rolling up through the spine. Lifting the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down, both arms reach. And again, reach up through the top arm. Coming through the centre, reach up with the second arm. Coming through the centre, arms open, bend through the knees. And lengthening the legs. Let's take that squat, sinking the pelvis back. And we lift up nice and tall, taking that rise, pressing into the balls of the feet, pushing into the big toe. Nice, floating that leg down. This time, right knee lifts, and as you bring the hands up, bring them up as if you've got your tray in your arms. Good, shoulders ease together. Now breathe in as you return back. This time the leg's going to stretch out and away, and just as we did before, we'll slice the space. Drawing the arm and the leg back in. Change to the other side. We lift. Knee opens out to the side. Coming back to the centre. Extending the leg away. Oh, she says, catching. And bringing the legs back together. Sorry guys, every time I wobble, everyone comes with me. That was my fault completely. Take a deep breath. Allow the length of the mat to be in front of you. So if you want to change the camera angle just so that you can see me on the side, that would be marvellous. Taking a nice deep breath from there. We'll release through the top of the head. We'll roll down through the spine. Let's bring ourselves onto hands and knees. And we'll take a nice cat stretch from there. So knees are underneath the hips, hands are underneath the shoulders. Take a deep breath. Let the back push up into the sky. Let the head drop between the arms. Tailbone points down. And then we lengthen out and away from there. Shoulders gliding down the back. And again, we'll push the back up into the sky. Head drops between the arms. And lengthening out and away. Good, keep that going for me. Keep that going. Pushing the back up into the sky. Shoulders gliding down the back. Hi Marie, nice to see you. So last one, allow the tail and the head to be stretching out and away from one another, shoulders gliding down the back. We'll take our thread and the needle from here. So take a deep breath, allow the right hand to lift, weave that right hand through the gap between the hand and the knee. And then we'll breathe in as we draw the arm back in, changing over to the opposite side. Lifting the hand, weaving the hand through the gap between the hand and the knee. And coming back. So we're changing arms each time and finding that nice spiral action. Loving your work. Good. If you feel ready to, you can add a little spiral to the start. So as you open the arm up for the sky, you look at the fingertips. And then you thread the arm through. We'll keep that little connection through the tummy, drawing gently up. Watch the hand as it goes, and then threading through. One more on each side. And then just allow yourself to gently sit back onto your heels. You might want the knees to come a little bit wider, see how it feels, and then stretching the arms out in front of you. And you can rest your head onto the floor. Just take a moment to really release out into the spine. And just to get a nice stretch into the sides of the body, we're going to walk the hands around to the right side, and we're going to stretch that left hand away from us. So the left hand reaches away and you're pushing into your left hip. Keep a nice squeeze into the tummy. And then we walk the hands around. And we'll reach that hand, the right hand reaches, and we'll allow the right hip to pull back so you get a nice stretch down the side of the body. And then walking the hands back into the centre. Let's allow ourselves to come onto our fronts. We'll let the elbows go wide from there. We'll allow the nose to hover just an inch away from the floor, and the legs can be nice and relaxed, really nice and heavy into the ground. So as we look to take in a little bit of extra work through the upper back, a little bit of strength work through the upper back and mobility, we're going to take a moment to just connect into the belly button. So really drawing the belly button away from the floor. Tailbone stretches out and away from us. We're breathing nice and deeply here. So the most important thing here is to keep this connection in place. So don't let your belly button squash down into the floor. Take in a breath, shoulders glide down the back, top of the head lengthens out and away, and the breastbone starts to lift away from the floor. We breathe in as we float back down. So this isn't a cobra like you'd get in yoga or an up dog. We're not going to push into the hands. We're going to allow the hands to be very delicately touching the ground. If you feel you want to, allow the hands to hover just an inch away from the floor, and the head extends out and away. Now if there's any pinching in the lower back, release the hands back onto the floor. Now from here, if you feel ready to, shoulders glide down, elbows squeeze towards the chest, and then we'll reach the arms out in front of us as we float back down. Shoulders glide down the back, and we lengthen and extend. Just taking two more like that. And releasing from there, drawing the hands on top of one another. Just allow your forehead to rest down onto your hands. And we're going to change our focus to the lower part of the body. So we're connecting up through the belly. We'll take a nice deep breath in. As we breathe out, we're going to stretch the right leg away from us. Breathe in as the leg floats back down, changing over to the opposite side, extending the leg away. Breath in as the leg returns. Keep that going for me. So you're changing legs each time. I want you to think about extending the leg. Rather than lifting the leg, we're thinking about extension. Again, we want the hip bones to stay nice and square, tailbone lengthening away, so the pelvis isn't pulling away from the floor on the sides. It's staying really nice and stable and still. Last one on the left side. And then we'll lengthen the arm out in front of us. We'll roll onto our side to come to face me. So I want to say that you're coming onto your left side to face me. Make a mental note right now. Make sure you're either on your left side or you're on your right side, and you've made a mental note that you're going to ignore me when I say to go on your right side. So we've got that connection through the tummy. We're allowing ourselves to look at the toes, just check that they're not swinging behind us. We want them to be in front of us slightly. But essentially we want to be allowing ourselves to be as much like a long line as we can. See if we can be as stretched through the torso as possible. And maybe the top hand's resting on the floor to start off with. Take a deep breath, stretch and extend the legs away from you. So both your legs are going to stretch and extend away. Keep breathing nice and deeply for me there. Good. So from here, we're going to see if we can allow that top hand to lift off and rest by our side. Take a nice deep breath, and we'll see if we can allow that top leg to gently circle. Breathing out for half the circle, breathing in to complete the circle. Lovely. Change the direction of your circle. If you start to get a twinge in your back or your neck, by all means let the bottom foot rest down. Hold it for me there. Keep the legs reaching and lengthening. Top arm lifts up and over the head. Breathe in as the arm floats back by your side. If you want a little bit more, you can keep the fingertips reaching. Take a little side extension. Breathing in as you float back down. Again, we lift up and over. And drawing the arm back by our side. Fingertips stretch down the side of the body. Breathing in as we float back down. And stretching. Lovely. Just one more. Gorgeous. Float the legs down for me, softening through the knees. And then we'll take hold of that right foot. Now I'm going to say it's your right foot if you're on your left side. Let it be the top leg. Good. Nice and deep with the breath. So we're grabbing hold of that foot. Some of us can't reach the foot, in which case you can grab a scarf or a band and wrap it around the ankle and then hold on to the ends, and then you can ease it in towards you. We're all going to take a moment to just check that our knee isn't pointing up towards the sky, but it's dropping into line with your hip socket. And then from there we're connected in through the tummy, tipping the tailbone under and pressing the hip forwards to get that nice sense of extension through the front of the thigh. And releasing for me there. Allow both arms to come forwards and let the head rest down on the floor, or if you've got a cushion, now's your chance to pop that cushion underneath your head. Good. So the knees are bent and they're going to act as an anchor for you. We're going to allow ourselves to watch the top hand as it moves. So we take a deep breath in, top hand lifts, eyes stay fixed on the hand. And you can keep moving until your hand either finds the floor behind you or you start to lose connection with the gaze. So as the gaze stops being able to hold on to that, keep hold of the thumb, then you draw the arm back in. Or, you bash your arm on the sofa, in which case you might want to bend the elbow. Finishing off there, let's come up onto our elbow. So we'll allow that elbow to be directly underneath our shoulder. We'll allow the hips to be on top of one another. We'll lift up through the rib cage and let the shoulders glide deep down the back. So we're squeezing in through the tummy when we're there. We're going to stay here for me, lift through the rib cage and just allow that top arm to lift. Notice how much space you've got around your neck. The ear isn't close to the shoulder. Good. Keep that going for me. If you feel ready to, we add a little lift. Great. As we lift, we're looking to get this top hip to reach upwards. Yeah. So watch out for if it kind of tips forwards. We want to see if we can really make it go upward. Hold it for me there, threading the needle. Let that arm feed through, drawing the arm back. 2 more like that. And let's face it, it's Friday morning, so we're all feeling ambitious. Let's stretch the top leg away. Woo! Wonderful. Floating down, come to a seated position to face me. Ah, nice one. Well done. So we'll cross the legs from there. Allow ourselves to just release into the hips and into the glutes. And let's let those shoulders gently melt down the back. And we'll tip the head from side to side. Good. And then from there, just allow yourself to ease gently forwards over those legs. Yeah. So if the knees start to scream at you when you're in this position, by all means take the legs wide instead. That'll get much more of a stretch for the inner thigh than the glutes, but I think if the knees are uncomfortable, you might not want to take that option, and an inner thigh stretch is always good. And then we'll lift nice and tall and we'll switch the legs over. Lovely. From there, let's take a moment to let the head gently rotate round as if someone was calling you from your side and you're just looking over your shoulder. And we feel that the shoulders can just start to melt down the back as we do that. And then as we come into the centre, once again, let's allow ourselves to ease forwards. So it should release into the other side, the other buttock. We're releasing and softening down. And taking a deep breath, just bringing the feet in front of us with the knees bent. Hands come behind us, shoulders glide down the back. Lifting really tall as if we're going to just do a little bit of sunbathing. Take a breath and allow the knees to tip over to the right side. Coming through the centre, over to the left side. Good. Tipping gently over. And then we'll allow the knees to tip over to the right side. And we're going to allow ourselves to lift up really tall from there. So some of us don't find that our hip drops all the way down in this position. That's okay. Just allow yourself to breathe gently and ease into the stretch. So apparently some Pilates instructors call this the mermaid pose. But I think our title of the Isle of Man pose is much better. So I'm sticking with that. So take a deep breath. We're going to go for a little wrap around the body. Opening out and wrap around the body. Open out, wrap around. One more wrap around. And then we'll just take the hand behind us, so right back behind us. Let the opposite arm lift up, up, up and over. So you're reaching to the back of the room. And then if anyone's feeling they want to, you'll lift the pelvis right up for the sky. And get that lovely stretch down the front of the hip. And release in there. Let's tip the knees over to the opposite side. I know this isn't for everyone. If you want to take the wide leg position instead, do. So we're breathing nice and deeply and we're just seeing if we can give that hip a little minute to ease on down. Oh, I feel like I was going into a song from The Wiz then. Lengthening nice and tall. Take a deep breath and we'll wrap gently around. And wrapping back around. Now we really want to feel that sense of connection through the core. We want to be lengthening really tall through the spine. Last one. Let's take that hand behind us. The arm in front reaches up and we get a lovely side bend, side extension. I'm with you, Janet. Nice, loving your work. Press the pelvis up high. Oh, that's a good stretch. And releasing. Well done, guys. Now, just allow your feet to go towards the direction that your head was a moment ago. And you can get rid of the cushion for a moment. We're going to take our capital C stretch. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you're going in a different direction, if it's easier to see me. But just remember which side you were on a moment ago. So let's allow the hands to come around the backs of the thighs. We're lengthening really nice and tall. Let the shoulders glide down the back. a really nice squeeze into the tummy as we tuck the tailbone under and we curl into the lower back. And then we're lengthening up nice and tall. Taking a nice deep breath there, breathing out, tip the tailbone under, curling into the lower back and lengthening up nice and tall. Keep that going for me, guys. Arms can reach out and away if you don't need to hold on to the thighs. That's all marvellous. And when we get to the top, let's allow ourselves to take a little spine twist. So the rib cage rotates around. We breathe in as we return back to the centre and then rotating around to the opposite side. Breathing in as we come back to the centre and tucking the tailbone under. Oh, that's caught you, isn't it, Mo? Cramping the hip, that's not so nice. And then we'll allow ourselves to gently rotate round. Breathing in as we return back to the centre and rotating gently round. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know why she's stopping halfway, I could go all the way to the floor, in which case it's a marvellous thing, carry on down. We can breathe in as we allow the arms to lengthen up and over the head, and then we'll breathe out as we curl all the way up to sit again. So just remembering that the upward phase is this challenging bit. Nice work, Janet. Good. So it might be that you get to just before there and you come on up. Yeah, nice work. Well done. Last one's going to bring you all the way to the floor. So allow yourself to come all the way down. When you get there, you can allow yourself to just release down into the floor. Allow the pelvis to just take a little jiggle. You can let the feet be really floppy so they wobble with you. In fact, give everything a good wobble. I vote. See if that comes into the head as well, because it might feel quite nice to just let the head be really heavy as it gently jiggles from side to side. And then we'll allow ourselves to come back to that stillness, that softness, allowing ourselves to release down into the floor. Just allow yourself to bring the right knee in and give it a good hug. So we'll hug that right knee in. And we'll allow the lower back to really press down into the floor. And as we do, just allow the head to roll from side to side, so it feels as though you can really release into the back. And then let's draw that left leg in and we'll glide the right leg away from us. Gliding that leg away, keep the other leg drawn in. Let the lower back start to really release down into the ground, shoulders release into the floor. And again, just a little roll through the head. And then let's allow the foot to come onto the floor, and then let go of the leg that you're holding and allow it to rest down onto the ground. So we'll allow ourselves to bring the feet just hip distance apart so the knees are bent, the pelvis is resting down into the floor. Take a moment to let the lower back just press into the ground. We tip the tailbone up, and then we tip the pelvis in the opposite direction and we exaggerate the curve in the lower back, taking it through those two extremes. So if you imagine that there's a tray resting on your abdomen, and on that tray is one marble, you're going to roll that marble towards the belly button and then roll towards the pubic bone, and then find that place in between those two extremes. Rib cage rests down, connection in the tummy. So we're going to draw in through the tummy and we're going to do whatever we can to keep our marble balanced. Take a deep breath in. As we breathe out, slide the right leg away from us. Breathing in as the leg returns. Change over to the other leg. As you do, you can allow the opposite arm to lengthen up and over the head. The objective here is to keep your marble still. Don't let your marble roll towards the pubic bone. Don't let it roll towards the belly button. Keeping that nice and stable and still. Shoulders sink into the ground, rib cage is nice and soft. Good. From there, your leg is extending away, shoulders are sinking down into the ground. We draw the leg back in, and then that same knee is going to open out to the side. Hips stay nice and still. We draw the leg back in, change over to the other leg. Extending away, shoulder stays sinking down into the ground. Draw the arm and the leg back in, and then that same knee opens out to the side. I'm going to add some more arms in if you want them. So we stretch the arm and the leg away. As the leg returns, both arms lengthen up towards the sky. Keep the shoulders grounded. As the knee opens out, its opposite arm is opening out to the side. And return, bring the arms back by your side. Changing over. Opposite arm to leg extends away. Drawing the arm and leg back in. Knee opens out to the side as the arm opens out. You can take a little abdominal curl up here if it feels like a good option for you. Lifting the head and shoulders, breathing in as we float back down. Now, if you want to, some of you know the two-leg tundra position and you know that it suits you and your body. So if you want to, you can allow both knees to be lifted. We can press the lower back into the floor. If we've got two legs lifted, we'll be an imprinted spine. And we can do this exact exercise with the two legs lifted. So let's take one more on each side all together. And then we'll bring the knees in towards the chest and we'll give them a good hug. And maybe even a little rock from side to side. Lovely. Let's allow the feet to rest down onto the floor. We'll take our knee circles from here. So again, I've got some variations on the knee circles if you want to play around with them, but we're going to do it with we're going to do one leg circles. So we've got that nice neutral spine position, hips and pubic bone are level. And we're aiming to keep the ribs and the hips nice and stable with each other. We squeeze in through the tummy, allow your right knee to lift to hover above the hip socket. And then your thigh bone is going to start to circle within the hip socket, as if it were a spoon stirring into a bowl of porridge. So keep the hips nice and still for me. Keep the rib cage sinking down into the ground. I want you to see if you can maintain neutral here. If your circle starts to get large enough that the opposite leg's getting in the way, by all means slide that leg away from you, but keep the hips nice and level. Let's change the direction of that circle. If you feel as though you want a little bit more challenge, you can open up the angle of this leg. So it might be wider than a 90-degree angle. Finishing off there, let's float that foot down and we'll change over to the other side. Natural curve in the lower back. Gently stirring the thigh bone within the hip socket. Remembering that our goal here is to keep the hips and the pubic bone level. So if the hips are tipping from side to side as we're circling around, we might want to make the circle a little bit smaller. Find the challenge that works for us. Again, if you want to make it more challenging, lengthen that supporting leg and maybe making this opposite leg a little bit longer. Let's change the direction of the circle. And finishing off there, bring the knees in, give them a good hug, and then we'll take a little hamstring stretch. So allowing the left foot to rest down towards the floor and lengthen the right leg up towards the sky. Now if you've got a band close by, you can wrap the band around your foot and then hold on to the ends of the band, and that way your shoulders will be able to just release down into the floor. Those of us that haven't got a band, we're holding on around the back of the thigh. You can of course use a belt, dressing gown belt, karate belt, or a scarf or a towel. Works well as well. Take a nice deep breath, gently easing that leg across the body and opening out to the side. And gently across the body, opening out to the side. Just one more. And then we're going to take that right foot across the left knee and let the right knee fall open to the side. So those of us that found cross-legged really tricky, this is a really good option for getting that release in the hip, in the glutes, without doing the full cross-legged position. If you want to, from there, weaving the hands around the thigh that's got the foot resting on the floor, easing the legs in towards you. You can, of course, find a wall or a sofa that might just be strategically placed, and then you can allow yourself to shuffle in and get as much of a stretch as you want. The more you concertina yourself in, the more of a stretch that will be. And releasing there. Let's do our hamstring stretch on the other side. So we'll allow the left leg to lengthen up towards the sky. We'll allow the hands to come round the back of the thighs. We'll lengthen up really nice and tall. And breathe nice and deeply as we allow the shoulders to glide down into the ground. Seeing if with each breath we can ease a little deeper into that stretch. Good. And then let's see if we can allow that leg to come a little way across the midline of the body. And then gently opening out to the side. And again we come across the midline of the body. And gently out to the side. Taking that foot across the right knee, allow the left knee to fall open to the side. We'll once again weave the hands around that right thigh, ease the legs in close to us, or if you've got a wall near enough to you that you can just take a little shuffle around and find the wall and rest the sort of supporting leg on the wall. Breathe nice and gently there. Well done. And releasing. So let's allow the feet to come onto the floor. We're going to take a little shoulder bridge just to really release through the spine. And I'm going to give you some more challenging options straight away. So, taking a deep breath. You've got that natural curve in the lower back. Initially you're going to press the lower back into the floor, tip the tailbone up, peel the spine away from the ground, keeping that moving until knees, hips and shoulders come into line with one another. Don't clench to the point where your pelvis is lifting even higher, but just in line with the rib cage. Take a nice deep breath there, let the arms lift either up towards the sky or over the head. Leave them there as you replace those vertebrae back down one by one. So these are your options for those of you that really know there's a stiffness in the spine and you want to focus in on that. Let's go again. Press the lower back into the floor, tailbone lifts, we peel the spine away from the ground. If you're thinking, I'm all about the glutes today, Emma, I need strengthening there, when we get to the top, we'll allow one foot to lift or stretch up to the sky. We'll float that foot back down. We'll change over to the other foot. And floating gently down. Let the arms lift up over the head, and then vertebrae by vertebrae, we're coming back down bit by bit, piece by piece by piece. Let the arms come back by your side, and if you want to take a little abdominal curl up, by all means do. Last one there. Press the lower back into the floor, tip the tailbone up. Now, if you want to, when we get there, this foot lifts, and we'll take that nice circle, gently circling the leg, and floating down. Change over to the opposite side. We lift, and we circle. Floating the foot down. Let the arms lengthen up and over the head. And floating the vertebrae gently back down. As we return back to neutral, we'll bring the arms back by our sides, taking that little abdominal curl up, and then you're going to roll onto your second side. So I was on my right side before, I'm now on my left side. I'm pretty sure I asked you to be on your left side, so you now should be on your right side. And you've made a mental note of whether you were going to ignore that and go with the other side. So, taking a little look down, check that you can see your toes if you can normally see your toes when you're standing. Nice and deep with the breath, we'll stretch both the legs away from us. So feel as though there's a real sense of length between your ribs and your hip. Top leg, circles. We've got 3. Yep, loving your work. So I've got some people with their hand resting on the floor, and that's marvellous. Some people with the arm resting by our side. Some people have got the arm lengthening up towards the sky, and that's also marvellous. Let's change the direction of that circle. Good, hold it for me there, keep the legs reaching. Top arm reaches up and over. Breathing in as you bring the arm back by your side. Keep the fingertips reaching, keep the shoulders gliding down the back. Gorgeous. And again, we lift. If you want to add in your side bend, now's the chance to do it. So we fingertips reach towards the toes, and we gently lift. Nice. Floating back down. Soften the arm up and over. Energize the shoulder down the back. Strong through the core. Now take a moment, let me tell you my cheat. My cheat is that as I lift up, my hip moves backwards. Try not to, try to keep the hips on top of one another. And finishing off there, that's lovely Mo, good, well done. And we float the legs down, we'll soften in through the knees. And then let's take hold of that top foot. I'm going to say it's your left foot, but you know, depending on which side you're on, it's definitely the top foot though. The knee comes into line with the hip. So sometimes when we're particularly tight through this outer thigh, it starts to lift up towards the sky. I want you to drop it down, and then that'll give you a little bit more, probably more through the quad, but maybe even a stretch down the outside of the leg, which will be marvellous. Tipping the pelvis, the tailbone kind of under, so you tip the pelvis forwards. Let that top shoulder really glide down the back so we're not creating more stress around the neck. And then we'll take a breath and we'll release the legs. Let the arms come forwards, and if you've got a cushion close by, feel free to pop it under your head. Nice and deep with the breath. We allow that top arm to gently open, eyes are fixed on the hand, and we go just to that point before we lose connection, eyes to thumb, and breathe in as the arm returns. Good, keep that going. And again, if there's not enough room in your room, by all means bend the elbows. That'll give you a really nice spiral, but without such a heavy lever as well. Good. Good. Finishing off there, and the moment you've all been looking forward to, I can imagine, is to bring that elbow underneath the shoulder. Feet are in line with the pelvis, hips are on top of one another. Now take a moment to check in with this rib cage. We're going to imagine there's a balloon inflating underneath of us, and it's going to lift us up. And we're going to allow the shoulder to be gliding down the back. Sometimes we find that we have to pull the elbow in a little bit more once we've lifted. Take a nice deep breath. Top arm lifts. Lovely. We breathe in as we float back down. Wonderful. Keep that going for me. If you want to, the pelvis lifts also. We lift on up. Breathe in as we float back down. And again, we lift on up. And soften down. Now let's check there's no tension building through the neck. So keep the neck nice and long. Space between your ears and your shoulder. This time adding in that thread in the needle. So we lift up. Stay up there for me. Thread the needle through. Breathing in as we open out. And threading through. And lifting up. Taking 2 more like that. Last one. And floating down. Oh, give the shoulders a little bit of a release out. Do what you need to do to release there. Maybe even into the legs, give them a little jiggle. And then let's allow ourselves to come on round, and we'll find a crouch position. And once we're there, we'll take a little rocking forwards and backwards onto the toes. Good. We're going to bring ourselves up to standing. So you're going to take your time to come up to standing. I'm going to roll up through the spine. If there's a way that suits you better than that, then that's fine. Otherwise, we press the heels into the ground. We let the head be heavy. We push into the heels as we roll up through the spine, coming up through the vertebrae. And when we get to the top, let's lift the shoulders. Let's roll the shoulders gently back and down. Do that a few times. And just one more. Take a deep breath, reaching really tall. Breathing out and let it all go. And give it a good shake out. Well done, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done.